In 1995, in Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island, a group of like-minded health and community professionals got together to explore the idea of an integrated and inclusive framework for health promotion in the province. The eventual outcome of that meeting was the Circle of Health, and this is its story.
You know, this is kind of a bit of memory, walking down memory lane, just thinking about this, because it'd be about 15 years ago, really, when I was working in the health agency, you know, in health reform days, trying to move the whole health promotion philosophy, community development philosophy forward and have people embrace that, work differently, work in partnership with community. And there was a lot of questioning about what does that mean. There were lots of documents that were written to support it, but a lot of people just, you know, were having a lot of difficulty getting their heads around it, and how do you make it practical? How do we start allocating resources fairly? How many resources and dollars were actually already being allocated to health promotion? Nobody really knew, because there was no definition of health promotion. No one had a shared definition. And there just seemed to be a need to come together and say, what do we share in common? What are we going to say health promotion is for PEI? So it was pretty amazing. And in a short period of time, people were asked the question, what does health promotion mean to you? They were asked to do something creative that would represent what health promotion meant to them. So, you know, you get thinking about this. That's 15 years ago that process took place. And the other day we got together with some of the folks who were involved in that project to kind of think about what was that big day like, which was at the Arts Guild.
But I think we got really clear really early, okay, the model could be many different things, but the values, they're the core. And it's a profound model.
You know, I can recall very clearly. I can't recall the details at the moment, but I can kind of recall the emotions of the moment when we said, you know, let's look at something three-dimensional, something we can hold in our hand and, you know, make the pieces move and line up with each other. Yeah. I immediately thought of my friend who was a great designer and what he could do with this. And, you know, here it is. Well, you know, I think it was built on some solid pillars. You know, we had World Health Organization strategies, and, you know, I think we took the best that was available and, you know, put it all together, packaged it all up in a way that came out of a very collaborative process.
Yeah. I mean, that was part of the consultation process that I learned from too, was we had people telling us the language was too complicated and that people wouldn't understand it. And when we had that consultation with people first,
yes.
It's like, don't change it.
Tell us what it means.
Tell us what it means.
That's so important about plain language.
One of the things that stands out for me is making culture and gender explicit on here, and I think this was the first one to do that, the first framework to do that. Yeah. And, you know, working with a variety of groups, it just is essential to be there. And now I was just reading an article from a national Aboriginal organization on language and culture as social determinants of health for Aboriginal people.
And so we opened it up and said, well, okay, a smaller group of people are going to come together to take a look at everything that you've said today and decide which framework we will adopt for PEI. What did they want? And so one was, we want a common and shared understanding of health promotion. Pretty clear, because we didn't have one. And another one was a framework where everyone can see their work. It needs to be inclusive. That we have everyone can see that they play a role in health promotion. And the third one was, we really needed a tool that we could use for planning, because needed to have goals, objectives, assign resources, need to be able to evaluate it. So there's three major purposes. And once you start deciding what your purpose is, then you go and say, okay, so if I have a tool for planning, then I have to have a tool that tells me the what, the how, the why, right? So all of those kinds of things had to come into it. And we started looking at existing frameworks to say, you know, which one of those actually will meet the needs. And started to realize that because the room, the previous day, the value statements had been so strong. I think we had something like 35 value statements up on the wall. Because they were so strong, we could not ignore them. And there were, although a lot of the existing frameworks were built on values, it was clear, they did not actually, they were not explicit. We didn't really start out to create a framework. We didn't start out to create a new conceptual model at all. We just started out to say, which one are we going to choose? And so we were stuck. And so the facilitators, it was Irv Rootman and Larry Hirschfeld from Toronto, had just said, you know what, it worked really well the day before when we all drew pictures. And we went, so why don't we just take a break, everybody go to the flip chart and just try drawing, see if we can, we've been doing a lot of left brain work, let's try some right brain work for a little while. And three of us just said, I'm fried, can't do it, just have to have a break totally, let's go for a walk. So we put on our coats, headed out the door of the room, and two people said, have to go take another break. So I thought, okay, well, I'll wait for you. And I'm standing there staring at the wall at the Charlottetown Hotel and literally just waiting for friends to join me. And I look at it, and all of a sudden it hits me. And I'm like this, holding on to the wall. There was the compass rose. And it says, that's it. That's how we can do it. You know, we can layer the dimensions like the compass rose. So they come out, and I'm standing here holding the wall, and I'm going, and I can't let go of the wall. I'm still holding onto the wall. And one of them runs out and gets a flip chart and brings it next to the wall and starts drawing. And then somebody else goes and gets the facilitators, and they come and start looking at it. Meantime, I'm still holding onto this wall like it's going to go somewhere. So we did a little drawing of it and talked about why that might work. And then everybody came back and together and shared what they had drawn. This is a moment that, as Joe would say, you know, you don't want to sound evangelical, but something very special happened, because as each person presented their drawing, they all had elements of the compass rose. So it started on its course of, let's write about it, and let's write a document about it, and that went through quite a long period of time. So it started 15 years ago in about October, November, the process, and it wasn't until June that the final product was launched. That was how it was developed. But for me, it was always a very powerful experience and a very energizing experience, one of discovery and a little bit of wonder, to be honest. And so I was approaching it still as a framework that would help to provide a strategy, would be the foundation of a strategy for health promotion on PEI. That was my whole goal, my whole intent. And before we had ever launched it, we were getting requests from other provinces and other countries.
Since its creation in 1995, the Circle of Health has taken on a life of its own. It has been translated into French, Spanish, Portuguese, and Serbian. Health and community planners from across Canada, Brazil, Spain, and Serbia have benefited from this innovative tool created here on PEI. Let's hear from some Canadian Circle of Health users.
The core of the Circle of Health for me is the medicine wheel in the center. It's an Indigenous philosophy, and I was just so happy to see that a mainstream organization that was doing so much work with promotion, health promotion and prevention, was using the medicine wheel and bringing it to the far broader audience, because everyone could stand to be more holistic and more grounded in their work.
I'm a mayor in a rural community, and we use the Circle of Health to make sure that we're looking at key determinants, that we're being inclusive, and that we look at health from a very big picture. And the Circle of Health has really helped us to focus in and figure out how we should be doing community development in a rural community.
Well, I find the Circle of Health is a very useful tool for people to understand the larger context within which they're working. Very often people are working in one or another little areas of the circle, but they don't realize things that are going on around them and how these things connect up with what they do. So when people start to make those connections, then that's when the light bulb goes on and interesting things starts to happen. So I've seen it used in a number of ways, and it's a tool we use with the ASI Board of Directors around planning, and it's something that people feel good about because it's something we can all work on together.
So who knows, right? Who knows? I mean, I had you never imagined. I knew it was powerful, but I honestly thought when we created it that it probably had a shelf life, like most things, maybe 5 years. And that life would have moved on, and on we go. But I think because it was created from community, it was built on really sound and solid theory, and the center ended up being the medicine wheel, which is very powerful and really reflects a lot of ancient wisdom and knowledge. The circle is inclusive, that it speaks to many cultures and languages, that it probably, who knows, I mean, there may be some semantics and some word changes, but right at this point, I don't know where it's going, but I'm going there with it wherever it goes.